everyone. Nice to see you all. On behalf of the Cinema Technology Committee, I'd like to welcome you to our annual Christmas party and awards. My name is Alan McCann and I was a projectionist. Now there's a phrase that will be disappearing in the near future. It'll be replaced by technician and audio-visual engineer. Anyway, I was a projectionist and I was very proud of it. To me it was more than a job, it was a way of life. Probably the same as many people in this room. And one of the things that I was taught from a very early time was the importance of presentation. And that's something else that appears to be disappearing in these present days. But fortunately we have a champion. And this champion not only mentions presentation in the cinemas on his radio show, but also on TV interviews, and he's written a book. So I'm very proud to announce a special guest, and I'd like to give a good welcome to Mr. Mark Kermode.
Hello, I'm really proud to be here. I'm really pleased to have been asked. Just to make this absolutely clear, I'm not a projectionist, obviously. I'm a film critic, and like most film critics, I know very little about how projection actually works. When I was a kid, I grew up in East Finchley, around the corner from what was then the Rex, is now the Phoenix, and when I was very young, somehow the manager allowed me to go up into the projection box and to watch a film being projected. And I watched somebody do something which I'm sure to all of you seems like the most natural thing on earth. But he projected a 10 or 12 reel film through one projector because the second projector had broken down. And he did this weird thing that as the reel was coming to an end, he somehow managed to connect the next reel up and then spit. And it was like watching somebody conducting a symphony or playing a piano, and I was completely entranced by it. From that point onwards, it seemed to me that what projectionists were doing was, on the one hand, it was like magic, like probably black magic and alchemical and something you didn't want to mess around with, but also like the beating heart of cinema. As you will all know, historically, it was always the case in the past that the projectionist was the most important person in the cinema, particularly when you were working with nitrate stock because it was so flammable, but also because, as the old adage had it, the only people in cinema who ever get final cut are projectionists. And essentially what happened in the last year or so was I do a radio show with Simon Mayo, and we had loads of people emailing us saying that they'd been to cinemas, things had gone wrong, the image hadn't been correctly aligned or correctly racked, correctly projected. And when they had gone to ask for it to be done better, it turned out that there weren't any projectionists doing the job anymore. And I started looking into this, and I was kind of really astonished by how what's an extraordinary art form was in danger of being lost. And I got in touch with Dave Norris, which is the reason I'm here. And I'd seen Dave at screenings loads of times. I said, look, I'm writing something about projection. Would you mind just giving me a hand, explaining to me, show me around, show me how it all works? And I had some fascinating times being shown how projectors do this, that and the other. And then I wrote this book which partly was about what was happening to projectionists. And loads of projectionists wrote to me and told me how much they loved projection, how difficult it had become recently, how much the art form was in danger of being lost. Dave was great because I sent him the thing and said, look, can you just tell me if I've made any really obvious mistakes? Because I do want it to read like it makes sense. And the main one he gave me, he said, you've used the American spelling of dowser. And basically, if you write it in that way, everyone who reads the book in the UK will know you have no idea what you're talking about. So I don't have any. To me, what projectionists do is still magical. It is genuinely magical. It's that alchemical thing about turning celluloid or digital into light and moving images. And I don't really understand how it works, although I spent a long time trying to figure it all out. You're all magicians to me, and slightly scary, I have to be honest. And I'm really proud to be here. I think that actually this whole cycle is going to swing back. I think the projectionist art is going to be much more respected in the next century. I think the proper cinema lovers are going to say, actually, a building without a projectionist is not a cinema. And so you're at the heart of it, and I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you very much, Mark. Don't run away, we've got a new job for you. I saw you eating a mince pie, so we'll make you pay for that.
That's it, yeah.
I would now like to call on Mr. Paul Schofield, a fellow committee member and an old friend. I use the term old advisedly. And he will read the introduction for the Frank Littlejohns Award. So Paul, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Great to see so many old projectionists here. Okay, now the Frank Littlejohn Award is often presented to the Cinema Technology by the Cinema Technology Committee to one of our industry's many unsung heroes, and this is no exception this year, as I'm delighted to tell you that this year's award goes to one of the nicest Yorkshiremen to emerge from a cave in Castleford. This year's award goes to the X-Star Group Chief Projectionist, Engineer, and then more recently Showcase Cinemas Training Manager. With nearly 58 years in the business, we salute Mark Woofers Woofenden. On the 23rd of April 1954, having had the operation and at the delicate age of 15, Mark left school and started as a full-time trainee projectionist. His love of the industry had already been ignited, having already spent much of his out-of-school hours working part-time at the Castleford Picture House, known locally as Castleford Picture House. As part of his training, Mark attended Leeds College of Technology, studying projection. On successfully completing his training course, he then found out that he had to undertake national service, and after a brief spell in the Wrens, following an application form mix-up concerning him filling in his bra size, he then found himself in the Royal Army Ordnance Service as a projectionist. After completion of his national service, he returned to Castleford to continue as a projectionist, and then following a spell in bingo, or as they call it in Yorkshire, bingo, Mark moved to another cinema, the Albion, where he ended up as chief. His cinema career blossomed further as he later moved on to become an engineer for the Star Group and worked on projection installations all over the country, including one of the first multi-screen cinemas, 5 screens under one roof, at Oxford Road, Manchester. During this time, Mark was also involved in carrying out some of the early 3D installations in the 80s, in those pre-digital days. When Star sold out to Canon Cinemas in 1986, Mark worked with them for a short period before joining the Rank organisation as an engineer in the North East. He joined Showcase Cinemas in 1991, initially working in the projection room at their busy Leeds multiplex. At first he was part of the technical management of the cinema, but then gained promotion to look after the wider northern area of the country, mainly due to his extensive technical knowledge. While working for Showcase, Mark's relaxed style and ability to explain the fundamentals of the projection room soon earned him a role of training manager. During his time with Showcase, Mark was the recipient of their own internal award, Company Manager of the Year. Indeed, assisting his longtime boss Craig Taylor, Mark has worked on new installations for Showcase all over the country, as well as foreign parts like Wales and Scotland. Throughout his career, Mark has enjoyed working with many legendary industry people, such as the late, great Barry Diamondstone, and the great but never late Max Bell, and all the staff at Bell Theatre Services. Mark's enjoyed working with fellow Yorkshireman Dion Hanson. Mark finally retired from Showcase Cinemas on the 2nd of July 2011, having been involved in cinema for a total of 57 years. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, many of us have found that it is the personalities and characters within our industry that have endeared us to this profession. I'm of no doubt whatsoever that Mark Woofenden typifies those characteristics, and like many people, I am not only delighted to have known and worked with this cheeky chappie, but also delighted that the committee has thought fit to honour his lifetime achievement. This year's Frank Littlejohn Award deservedly goes to great Mark Woofenden. Now, unfortunately, Mark is ill at the moment. He's not with us, and I'm delighted to say that on behalf of Mark, his ex-boss and colleague is here to receive the award. Can I please ask you to welcome, please, to the stage, Mr. Craig Taylor from Showcase Cinemas. Yes. Craig, would you like to say a few words?
It's a great regret that Mark can't be here. I'm privileged to accept this on his behalf and to say thanks to everybody who nominated him for this award. Thank you.